Imagine a point guard so inventive that each pass seemed like a small miracle. Jason Williams, straight out of rural West Virginia, refused to settle for standard dishes. He threw behind-the-back bullets and off-the-elbow feeds as if they were routine. Critics dismissed him as a flair-first showman, yet teammates saw the pinpoint precision hidden underneath the spectacle. Night after night, he had arenas on their feet with no-look passes that felt almost magical. What fueled his obsession to rewrite the rules of point guard play? The question is, why was he so determined to bend the traditional rules of passing? Part of it stemmed from a simple fact. Defenders rarely saw it coming. By twisting his arms or darting his eyes away, he forced opponents to second-guess where the ball was headed. In many ways, his creativity was a strategic weapon that gave his team a real advantage. Of course, that advantage came with a fair share of turnovers, but no one disputed the sheer excitement white chocolate brought to the game. How did a small-town kid in West Virginia become the NBA's flashiest passer? And why did he keep risking behind-the-back mishaps in high-stakes moments? To understand that, we have to rewind to a high school gym that gave him the freedom to experiment endlessly, often when everyone else was fast asleep. Bell, West Virginia. A place so small you might expect one gas station, a single grocery store, and not much else. Yet DuPont High School, located in this unassuming community, managed to pull off near-miraculous feats on the basketball court. The biggest reason was a lanky teenage point guard named Jason Williams. The second reason was the school's star forward, Randy Moss, who would later redefine athleticism in the NFL. Growing up on DuPont's campus, Jason took advantage of his father's job as a state trooper to secure gym access at odd hours. Most kids fell asleep to late-night TV, but Jason was inside the school's hardwood floors, practicing crossovers and tossing behind-the-back passes to imaginary teammates. Observers say it was less about rigid drills and more about playful exploration. If a pass angle seemed impossible, Jason would try to figure it out anyway. The result? DuPont soared to the AAA, National High School Championship game, an accomplishment that seemed laughable for a tiny West Virginia town. Although the team fell short, Williams poured in 26 points, mesmerizing scouts with his shot-making and fearless playmaking. His synergy with Randy Moss was so strong that some thought they could dominate practically any school in the nation. Even in defeat, college programs saw a must-have prospect. But his path to college success wasn't straightforward. Within months, Jason's original commitment to Providence unraveled, forcing him to reconsider his options. Coaches left for other jobs, rosters filled up, and scholarship offers vanished. So he switched tracks, landing at a military academy for a quick stopover that felt like a punishment. The next major chapter began when he followed the one coach who believed in him, Billy Donovan. Billy Donovan, after lobbying unsuccessfully to bring Jason to Providence, took a head coaching job at Marshall. He saw beyond Jason's unpolished bravado and recognized a rare genius, someone who mixed street ball instincts with a razor-sharp eye for angles. The only hitch? NCAA transfer rules demanded Jason sit out a season. For a restless competitor like Williams, it was agonizing to watch from the bench. Yet that year paid off. He trained relentlessly, sometimes wearing wrist weights to improve strength and ball control. By the time he finally stepped on the court, it was clear to everyone. Donovan's gamble had paid off. However, success brought new opportunities and new headaches. Donovan soon jumped to the University of Florida. Jason, hating classroom routines yet loyal to the coach who gave him a chance, followed Donovan to Gainesville. Initially, it looked like a dream scenario. Big-time college basketball, a system that gave him plenty of freedom and a national stage for highlight passes. But the dark side quickly emerged. Williams had a habit of being late for class, ignoring team rules, and indulging in left-handed cigarettes. When he got caught the second time, the Gators cut ties, effectively ending his college career. Most players would have seen their hopes disintegrate, but Jason refused to fall apart. He compared his troubles to baseball's three-strike rule, claiming he was down to his final pitch and determined not to whiff again. Fate intervened in the form of Nick Anderson, a forward for the Orlando Magic, who happened to be courtside at one of Jason's final college games. Anderson was stunned by how a single player could dominate with scoring and distribution. so he urged his agent to pick up Williams. Before long, Jason was practicing against bona fide NBA athletes in Orlando's off-season workouts, proving he could handle professional competition. Rumors spread quickly about this brash guard with ridiculous passes. By the time the 1998 NBA draft rolled around, the Sacramento Kings had zero intention of letting him slip by. Sacramento took Jason 7th overall, a move that puzzled some critics. The Kings were desperate for a franchise cornerstone, and many doubted Williams, with his checkered college run, could fill that role. But from day one, head coach Rick Adelman delivered an unusual message. Don't ever be afraid to fail creatively. That hands-off approach liberated Jason to attempt all the fancy passes he wanted. If one sailed out of bounds, he'd try it again with his other hand. He quickly morphed into White Chocolate, a nickname the Kings marketing team pitched to capture his flashy, street-inspired style. Through mesmerizing no-look passes and fearless shot attempts, Jason became a viral sensation before viral was even a common term. Kings home games sold out as fans flocked to watch him operate. He wasn't a perfect player, turnovers piled up, and critics slammed his decision-making, but the raw excitement overshadowed the flaws. Thanks to his flair and the contributions of veterans like Vlade Divac, the Kings made the playoffs for the first time in years, only to face John Stockton and the seasoned Utah Jazz. That series, which Sacramento lost in 5 games, highlighted Jason's Achilles heel, ball security. Stockton's calm, methodical style exploited Williams's riskier tendencies. Though disappointed, Jason recognized the brutal lesson. No matter how flashy, you can't topple proven contenders unless you balance chaos with control. He vowed to refine his approach, only to see the Kings pull off a deal that rocked the fan base. Sensing they needed a steadier point guard to compete for a title, the front office swapped Jason for Mike Bibby. While he took it in stride, it was a bittersweet farewell for a player who had helped resurrect Sacramento's relevance. Regardless, another transformative chapter awaited him in Memphis. Memphis had just relocated from Vancouver and was eager to establish credibility. With Williams aboard, the Grizzlies suddenly boasted a show-stopping point guard who could both pass and score when needed. He set a career high with 38 points in one game, then followed that by dishing double-digit assists on multiple nights. On a rebuilding team, Jason was often the lone bright spot. Local fans adored his flair, but media voices still criticized his turnover rate, on-court scuffles, and rebellious streak. Enter Jerry West, the revered former Lakers icon known for building championship rosters. As the new boss of the Grizzlies, West hired a fiery veteran coach named Hubie Brown. Though nearly 70, Brown cultivated a culture of relentless accountability, which, surprisingly, suited Jason. He appreciated that Brown treated all players alike. No special favors, no tolerance for poor discipline. Brown also divided the schedule into small 6-game increments, urging Memphis to target measurable goals, like improving defense or cutting turnovers. With rising stars Paul Gasol, Mike Miller, and James Posey flanking Williams, the Grizzlies developed genuine chemistry. Jason focused on distributing more responsibly, slashing his turnover totals. This newfound discipline led Memphis to its first playoff appearance, although the 2004 San Antonio Spurs breezed to a first-round sweep. Even so, the Grizzlies were thrilled. They had gone from league laughingstock to legitimate postseason entrant in record time. Soon enough, Hubie Brown stepped aside for health reasons, and Mike Fratello took over. Jason wasn't shy about criticizing Fratello, remarking that he coached like it was middle school. Even though the Grizzlies returned to the playoffs, they were again swept, fueling the sense that Williams needed a new stage for his talents. That's when a phone call arrived from an unlikely source, a giant with multiple championship rings and a famous sense of humor. Shaquille O'Neal, fresh off a trade to Miami, wanted another title before riding off into the sunset. He recognized that, alongside rising star Dwyane Wade, the Heat needed a point guard who wouldn't vanish in the spotlight. Hearing of Jason's availability, Shaq reached out directly. Amused by Williams' colorful response, he joked about giving up his left nut if necessary. Shaq convinced the Heat to acquire Jason in a colossal 5-team swap. Expectations soared in South Beach. Still, things got tense when Miami sputtered early under head coach Stan Van Gundy. Eventually, team president Pat Riley replaced Van Gundy, stepping back onto the sidelines in a move that some labeled a power grab, but others saw as a championship push. Riley presented Jason a simple directive: shape up and distribute. Extra flash was acceptable only if it contributed to winning. This was a level of accountability Jason embraced, especially alongside future Hall of Famers. The 2006 playoffs tested their resolve. Chicago put up a fight in the first round. Then Jason's old Memphis teammate James Posey helped stifle New Jersey in the second. Everything came down to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Detroit Pistons, who were famed for their stifling defense and championship DNA. With the series on the line, Jason delivered a career-defining performance, scoring repeatedly in the final game to close the series and send Miami to its first NBA Finals. Waiting there was Dirk Nowitzki and the scorching Dallas Mavericks. Down 0-2, the Heat seemed finished until they orchestrated a miraculous Game 3 comeback. From there, Dwyane Wade unleashed unstoppable performances, while Shaq anchored the paint. Jason's job was to keep the offense humming, and by Game 6, the Heat earned their first championship. The sight of Jason hugging his teammates, screaming, "Who the best?" captured the euphoria he'd spent years chasing. Winning that ring put Jason Williams on top of the basketball world, yet defending it proved disastrous. On opening night of the following season, when the team received its championship rings, the Heat got dismantled by 42 points. Fans and pundits alike questioned their effort, suspecting Miami's roster had spent more energy celebrating than improving. Tensions flared in the locker room. Pat Riley even injured his knee kicking a door in frustration, while Williams butted heads with his coach over minor miscommunications. Shaq also voiced displeasure, eventually leaving in a mid-season trade. Without Shaq's imposing presence, Miami lost its identity. To make matters worse, Jason battled ongoing knee problems. The Heat went from reigning champions to missing the postseason entirely. The front office, aware Jason's body was wearing down, made minimal efforts to re-sign him. He entered free agency with uncertain prospects. The Los Angeles Clippers offered a veteran minimum, but the cost of living made it a losing financial deal for Jason. So he abruptly stepped away, announcing his retirement, though it felt more like a strategic exit than a genuine goodbye. For a while, fans believed his NBA chapter had closed until an unexpected door reopened in Orlando. After a required year away, Jason Williams joined an Orlando Magic squad featuring Dwight Howard, Rashard Lewis, and JJ Redick. This was a team built around a dominant center, surrounded by lethal shooters, a perfect system for a smart veteran point guard. Despite being in his mid-30s, Jason amazed everyone by appearing in all 82 games one season, even earning occasional starts. Orlando made a deep playoff run, halting only at the Eastern Conference Finals, where they lost to the Boston Celtics. The Magic, impressed by Jason's steady play and mentorship, extended his stay. Unfortunately, that final year turned rocky. He was ejected twice in 6 games, a reflection of pent-up frustration and the sting of age limiting his once boundless mobility. Before the season ended, Orlando released him. Memphis, the team he'd helped put on the map, welcomed him back briefly, but it was clear his knees couldn't handle another full campaign. At last, Jason Williams retired. This time, it stuck. Friends and fans had witnessed his evolution from raw, impulsive phenom to NBA champion. He'd juggled controversies along the way, clashes with coaches, occasional marijuana-related suspensions, and heated interactions with officials, but no one could deny his impact. YouTube compilations of his passing wizardry still rack up views, showing an entire generation just how creative basketball can be. Though Jason Williams never earned a league MVP or stacked up all NBA honors, he achieved something equally memorable. He redefined how fans see the art of passing. Even his detractors admit that his fearless creativity opened doors for new guard styles. Younger players watched white chocolate highlights and realized a pass didn't have to look normal. It just had to fool defenders. His methods weren't purely decorative. They served a purpose in an era that often discouraged risk-taking. His championship with the Miami Heat sealed his legacy. He overcame lumps in his teens, got expelled in college, clashed with multiple coaches, and even went head-to-head with legends like John Stockton and Gary Payton. Yet he persevered, knowing that behind every highlight pass lay countless hours of lonely gym time, testing improbable angles until they felt second nature. Where does he rank among the best point guards of all time? Opinions vary widely. Some folks believe that while he was fun to watch, he never amassed the career milestones to belong in the top tier. Others argue his ring and passing influence place him in any serious conversation about transformative NBA playmakers. Ultimately, the debate is part of what makes his story irresistible. One certainty remains: Jason "White Chocolate" Williams inspired countless fans and future players to try behind-the-back dimes they never would have attempted otherwise. He harnessed raw creativity, turned it into highlight gold, and reaped the ultimate reward with a championship. For better or worse, the NBA hasn't seen a player quite like him since. And maybe that's how it should be: singular, unrepeatable, and forever a legend of the hardwood.